Is combat a sport? That's a question I've been asking a lot of people recently because combat is so intrinsic to the tabletop role playing games that we play. It is a large aspect of it. Specifically in 5th edition, the vast, overwhelming majority of the rules all deal with combat. So, my question is combat a sport? Is combat scary? What is the purpose of combat? If it is all about showing off your skills and talents, that's fine. But at the same time, I'm also curious, is combat scary? Are your PC's lives on the line? Are other people's, specifically the NPC's lives, on the line? That's something to consider. What is your aim with combat? How lethal is it? Are PCs dying regularly? Or do no PCs die ever? Another thing to tackle on side there is, are PCs regularly close to dying? Do your players believe that their PCs could die at any moment if they make the wrong decisions or if they roll badly? Is combat avoided? Do your players know that there's something around the corner and do everything in their power to avoid it? Are your players always searching for the way to not get into combat? Or is it sought after? Do your players charge headlong into glorious combat? Do your players seek out fights? Do your players raise up their hand and say, well, time to fight, let's go? These things are very important because they dictate the pace of the game. They dictate what we're getting out of the game. And also very important here is, what is the reward for combat? Is it in-game loot, such as gold or magical items? Or is combat an out-of-game reward? It's a pleasure for us to get into combat. It's fun for us to either be near death or wall up a whole bunch of enemies. What is the reward that we get from combat? These are questions that I can't answer for you. These are questions that you should ask your players, though, and you should ask yourself. Because once you know those answers, you can formulate a game that works perfectly for them. If you want combat to be scary and there is a lethality involved, then you have to give them the options to avoid it and seek after it should they desire. You have to tailor the rewards to what they want out of the game. Is rewards in-game or is it out-of-game? Or is it both? I've ran a lot of games for a lot of different people and I've ran it so many different ways. I've ran games where combat is not scary. Combat is a fun time where the players get to beat up on monsters, and that's a-okay. And then I've also run games where combat is to be avoided at all cost because combat could mean the death of either any PC or NPC that is in the party. And I've had a whole bunch of different people see it differently. I've had people who purposely avoid combat, and I've had people who charge headlong into it because that's what they want out of the game. These things are important to talk to your players with, and of course, to ask yourself. Once you know the answer of, is combat a sport, yes or no, and once you know the answer to all these questions, you are going to be in for a great time. So go ahead and tell me, do you think combat should be scary? Or do you prefer a game where you aren't really that scared? How lethal are your games? Do PCs die regularly? Do they not die regularly? Is combat avoided, or do your players love just charging right in? Go ahead and tell me those questions because I would love to hear it. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And thank you to my amazing patrons. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.